All right, we are live. I'm Joe Trosian, and this is RamView live from the Ram Cave. It is November the 1st, 2022. First time in 2 weeks I've been here. Of course, the bye week. And then you had to digest what took place on Sunday and had to get through it. And then you wanted to find out what the Rams were going to do at the trade deadline, which wasn't much. And so I am Joe Trosian, and this is RamView, brought to you by Temple City Auto Repair. If you're having car issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And so we're going to be talking some Ram football here, and we're going to talk about, the little bit of the Frisco disaster, the trade deadline, and just 10 things that are just true about the Rams right now and something that we need to deal with as fans. And we'll just dive right in. Hey, the Rams are 3-4. Frisco's 4-4. Okay? The Rams are 3-4. Frisco's 4-4. We won't even talk about Seattle yet. Seattle's the outlier, right? And I think the Cardinals are 2-5, but we'll worry about them when we get there. So the Rams are 3-4. If they had beaten Frisco twice, they'd be 5-2, and nobody would be panicking, right? The loss in Frisco a few weeks ago was a giveaway. It could have been one, should have been one. The loss at SoFi on Sunday was a second half disaster after a solid first half. There was no meltdown the first two quarters, but there was a meltdown the last 30 minutes, and that made all the difference. And it was such a bad meltdown that, of course, it made you feel doom. I know for me personally, I cannot handle losing without a fight. I can handle losing, but it just seemed like there in the second half, midway through the fourth, they just weren't even fighting anymore. And I know that's a removed statement, and I'm not going to say I'm in the huddle and say, yeah, they all said let's quit. But perception-wise, I'm sorry. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is the next Gale Sayers. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is the next Terrell Davis. I think Christian McCaffrey's a very good player, and I thought the Rams defense made him look like a legend on Sunday. I had a real hard time with him popping through holes through the trenches there and not getting touched. I mean, we're not talking John Riggins. We're not talking King Henry. We're talking Christian Blanken McCaffrey. And at a certain point, as a player in any sport, you got to have pride. And I think at certain point, the pride button got turned off on the Rams because there wasn't a fight. There was a little bit of jawing. There was a little bit of this. Allen Robinson got blistered for the unsportsmanlike, which was a jackwagon call. But at least Allen Robinson was showing some life. Sooner or later, you got to start a fight, right? Sooner or later, you got to level somebody. And that happened in the Super Bowl when things were going bad after the face mask on Ramsey led to a touchdown. Skoronek's tip pass led to an interception. If you remember, the game kind of turned around when Aaron Donald basically took it out on the Bengals afterwards, going out of bounds. He started roughing guys up, and there was none of that on Sunday in the second half for the Rams, and so that was a hard one. So, like I said, the first loss in Frisco was a giveaway that they should have won. The second loss in SoFi was a second half disaster. Now, put that together with no deal at the deadline, and here are 10 things to think about as a Rams fan. These are 10 things that popped into my head, and I probably should have blistered them out on Sunday morning or Monday or Sunday night or Monday morning, but I wanted to see the trade deadline. And I saw the trade deadline. I saw Bradley Chubb go to Miami. I saw Chase Edmonds go to Denver. I saw TJ Hawkinson get moved. I saw all these other things, but I didn't see, of course, the Rams making a deal. And I don't know if I'm upset with that or not. But let's get to the first point, right? First point of 10, right? I felt like the game kind of turned on Sunday with 1:04 to play in the first half when McVay made no effort after getting the ball back. He made no effort to build on the 14-10 lead. That felt very un-McVay. That didn't feel McVay-like at all. And I got the feeling they were playing it safe, that they were actually fearful of a pick six, that they were actually fearful of some disaster, and they lost their aggressiveness. 1:04 to play, 1:04, and they didn't make a move downfield. That one kind of that to me, I thought about it in the moment, and then to me, it played out in the second half. I think they got gun shy, and you can't play that way. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback that you can ask to play gun shy. You got a quarterback that needs to stay aggressive. You know, you've got an offense that's built that needs to stay aggressive, because when it doesn't stay aggressive, it becomes very ordinary and is far from extraordinary. Number two, what happened on Sunday was a second half meltdown and not a four-quarter disaster. Okay, so keep perspective. They played well in the first half. If they had played like they played in the first half in the second half, they'd have won that game, right? So keep perspective. The season is not over. There's still 10 games left in this season. 10 games, okay? They're 3-4, and they've got the Cardinals again. They got the Seahawks twice, and then it gets a little dicey with the schedule. So nothing's going to be easy, but keep it in perspective. It was a bad 2 quarters, and there's still 10 games left, okay? Number three, what's next? Tackling in the defensive front, right? Including the off-ball linebackers. They all played poorly. Loyal RamView follower Dave Mitchell was bagging on Bobby Wagner early, and I kind of defended Bobby Wagner. I said, no, Wagner's played well up to this point, and he disagreed with me. And you know what? By the end of the game, he was right and I was wrong. Wagner had his worst game as a Ram. He did not play well on Sunday. And you know what? Neither did Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald did not have a great game on Sunday. Greg Gaines was and Ashawn Robinson demonstrated why he's probably not going to return in 2023, and so did Greg Gaines. It's really time for the Rams to invest again in the defensive line and see if they can find something, because this isn't working. And you better get it in your head that you may have this year and next year with Aaron Donald, maybe. So the tide is turning. You need to invest in the defensive line. Number four, yeah, it's unacceptable. I can't get over that. Christian McCaffrey's a good ball player. Christian McCaffrey is not a gap up the gut, not get touched until he gets to the second or third level. That is preposterous. You should be utterly ashamed to let that happen over and over again. There, I said it. Okay, I'm better now. Okay, number four. It's time to say it. Second year for a second-round draft pick, and that second-round pick doesn't see the field, right? Tutu Atwell, despite getting some reps in the previous 2 games, including the big catch against the Panthers and some action the week before that, the jury's in. Bust. And it's really not us saying he's a bust. It's McVay and McSnead and all of them saying he's a bust because he's not getting on the field. He is a second-round pick in his second year, and you're playing your number one rival at home, and it's a critical juncture in the season. It's not the entire season. It's a critical juncture in the season, and Tutu Atwell was not on the field. We don't need to declare it because the Rams have asserted right now that Tutu Atwell is a bust. And they're going to have to change our opinions. Our opinions don't make any difference anymore. We've backed Tutu. A lot of us have said, let's give Tutu a chance. Let's give Tutu a chance. But the Rams made the statement. They're not giving Tutu a chance. And all that stuff that everyone was waiting to see that the Chiefs ran, all that speed, outside, sweep, all that misdirection that the Chiefs ran against the 49ers the week before, there was none of that in the Rams offense. And that's where Brandon Powell and Tutu Atwell come in. And Tutu Atwell didn't play a snap, and Brandon Powell only played 3 snaps. Brandon Powell, who's become more and more part of this offense, only played 3 snaps. I want to know, I'd like to know, he doesn't owe me an explanation, but what was Sean McVay's thought process on that? Okay, number 5, things are different if Tyler Higbee holds on to the third down pass. We know the play. He catches it. He goes for a long rumble. I think Greg Olsen said he'd score. I don't think he had scored, but he had a long rumble, been deep into 49er territory early in the second half or midway through the second half, and things would have been different. But he didn't. He dropped it. And we see this with Higbee. Higbee is okay, but I don't know if he's worth a third contract, right? I don't think he's worth a third contract. He's in his, 7th year. I think we've gotten what we can get out of Higbee. The clicks are in, and the clicks are going to slow down from now on. We got the clicks we needed out of him for the round he was drafted in. It's time to send the Hilltopper from Western Kentucky out into the market and invest in another tight end. And that tight end's obviously not Kendall Blatton nor Bryson Hopkins. So they need Higbee's been a good blocker. They need the guy that can block and can catch. All right, number 6, Brian Allen being back at center made a difference. Okay, it makes a difference. Alaric Jackson and Rob Havenstein at the tackle spots are good enough. That's good. I feel confident with that trio. But the team needed another guard. With all the talk about getting a running back or another receiver, signing OBJ or getting a pass rusher, as everyone says, it's an offensive league. You need a guard. They needed a guard. An offensive line can win with 4 out of 5 offensive linemen that can play the game. The 5th one could be a bum, but you need 4 of them at least. Right now, the Rams have 3 out of 5, and it's not enough. Whether it's David Edwards, Coleman Shelton, Ode Abuche, one of them has to emerge. Both of them they need to emerge, okay? And the business, all business dealings with Bobby Evans need to end. It's so funny is that we can't get the team to put Tutu Atwell on the field, but we can't get this team to stop putting Bobby Evans on the field. Honestly, can he play any worse than Chandler Brewer? Can he play any worse than any of these other people? Honestly, now Edwards and Coleman, Shelton have been banged up. They're coming back, but really, Bobby Evans, it's got to end. It's got to end. Why are they force feeding us Bobby Evans? Are they trying to tell us he's not a bust? He's a bust. Wasn't a first-round pick, but out of Oklahoma, I think he was 2nd or 3rd round. And at that level for the Rams, you're a premium pick. You got to produce. He hasn't produced. And they keep trying to believe us and convince us that he's going to produce. He hasn't, right? I wish Tutu Atwell had as many reps as Bobby Evans did, just so we can know, just so we can stop speculating, right? But 3 out of 5 is good. The Rams need Edwards, Coleman Shelton, Odede Abushai, or somebody else. They gotta find 2 of those 3, one of those 3 to become very good, 2 of those 3 just to become solid enough. Because David Edwards has not played well when he has played this year. Number 7, when McVay punted with 5 minutes to play in the 4th, he was throwing in the towel, right? We all knew that. I didn't like it, but hey, that is what it is. Okay, he was throwing in the towel. So why were the Rams in there? Why were Stafford, Kupp, and every other starter out there? Why were they out there, right? We're watching it, and then we dodge a bullet on whether or not Cooper Kupp has sustained a significant injury. Now he's got a soft tissue injury with that ankle sprain. You're running a jet sweep to Cooper Kupp after you've thrown in the towel. But during the course of the game, you didn't run a jet sweep to Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Brandon Powell, or even the new superstar Ben Skoranek, right? But you're going to do it when the game is over? You're going to put it in Kupp's hands and risk injury? Honestly, McVay, what were you doing at the end of the first half? What were you doing after you threw in the towel? We have the right to ask that question. Loyal RamView follower Paul Kistler pointed out, along with several others, these guys don't even play in the preseason, but you're going to play them in a game that you've given up on? Think about that. No Ram starter sees the field during a preseason game. But in a game where they've thrown in the towel against the 49ers, they keep them out there. Heaven's Gate and Hell's Flames. I just don't get it. Number 8, OBJ is not a priority. I can care less about OBJ. OBJ is okay. OBJ is all right. OBJ would be great to have if he was OBJ and he wasn't hurt. But OBJ isn't getting on the field until December, okay? That is if he comes back. But OBJ is not a priority, and Allen Robinson is not the problem. We're seeing more and more out of Allen Robinson each week, right? Allen Robinson didn't drop the pass Tyler Higbee dropped. Allen Robinson didn't drop the pass Cooper Kupp dropped, right? Did you see Cooper Kupp drop that pass early on? Stafford put it on his numbers. And then I just don't get it. Brandon Powell only had 3 snaps. 3 snaps after they were integrating him into the offense. Why would you not use his speed against the 49ers? Don't get it. OBJ is not a priority. Also, as we were looking at the trading deadline, running back depth is a priority, but a star is not needed. Because unless the offensive line is improved, it doesn't really matter who you put back there, right? So what you need is a solid running back, okay? I've made my peace. Cam Akers is gone, all right? I'll dance with Ron Rivers. We'll see what Kyrene Williams has. We'll see what they have. I'm not really caught up in that. I think in terms of receiving and other action that you want, I think Brandon Powell can give that to you, but apparently Sean McVay doesn't. like I said, the offensive line needed help during the trade deadline, and they didn't get anybody. The Rams go into the season or headed into the season with 8 players, seven linemen. I think the 8th one would have been Logan Bruss, but Logan Bruss blew out his knee. Tremaine Ingram lasted about 30 seconds. Joe Noteboom is gone for the year. Okay, all 3 of those guys gone for the year. Injuries, significant injuries happened to Coleman Shelton, concussions to David Edwards, and then on top of that, Allen missed several weeks. That is 6 of at least 8 offensive linemen the Rams were counting on this year. Havenstein and Jackson as a backup being the exception that were out with injuries. That's just not going to work because who are you putting in? Bobby Evans, right? Jeremiah Colon, Ode Abouche. And I don't want to bag on Abouche because Abouche, at the very least, was average on Sunday, and I don't want to slam on him too bad. Another thing for the Rams to think about, because, again, they didn't make a deal. But Terrell Lewis and Justin Hollins have proven themselves to be just guys. I'm very much a Justin Hollins guy. I think Justin Hollins okay. He graded out all right, but he only played 33 snaps. Terrell Lewis is just not going to be the guy. He's not even Samson Ebukam, right? And so the Rams need to make a move. They need to get to the quarterback. But honestly, Brian Burns was not worth 2 number 1 picks. He's not Jalen Ramsey. He's not Matthew Stafford. He's, maybe you'd give Von Miller compensation, a 2nd and 3rd, but I don't know if Brian Burns was going to turn the tide. And plus, Brian Burns was in his walk year, and he's got 3.5 years, he's got 32 sacks. So he's an 8 to 9 sack a year player. Good player, not slamming him, but I'm not giving them 2 number 1s. My 2 number 1s have to win me a Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford. My 2 number 1s have to be for a player that's the best corner in the league, or at least has been at the very top of the best of corners in the league, and that's Jalen Ramsey. I'm not doing that with Brian Burns. Just not. I'm glad the Rams didn't do it. Glad they didn't do it. So what do they do in the meantime? Raheem Morris is going to have to find a way to get to the quarterback. And really, for Ram fans, you need to stop with the fire Raheem Morris. I've been there. I was there a year ago, and we saw the defense get better. Up to this week, the defense had played fairly well. Give him some benefit of the doubt because the other players they haven't produced. But what is Raheem Morris going to do? He's got to find a way to get to the quarterback, and there's got to be a little bit of a philosophy change. They got to utilize Jalen Ramsey more in the pass rush, rover him around the field, do different things with him. And that definitely means you're going to have to start trusting the cornerbacks they've invested a lot of capital in, right? David Long only played 3 snaps. Darian Kendrick didn't grade out well. Kobe Durant's just back from a hamstring. Robert Rochelle was an improving starter a year ago, and now all we see him doing is leading the charge on punt return to coverage. And on punt coverage, he generally runs right by the guy receiving the ball. And then, of course, there's Troy Hill. So it's not optimal, but you know what you're going to have to do? They're going to have to come up and play some press coverage, right? It sounds cliche. Everyone's talking about soft coverage because it's true. We sit there, we watch it, we see what's happening. And they're going to have to utilize Ramsey in creative ways to get to the quarterback if they're going to salvage this season, but the defense has to have that little tweak. And the other thing that has to happen here is please tell me in a few months Taylor Rapp will no longer be playing safety for the Rams. He could play special teams for the Rams. Awesome, play special teams. But if he's not tackling, we know he can't cover. And he wasn't tackling or covering on Sunday, and I just don't get it, right? And I think I'm done with Jordan Fuller. Jordan Fuller, I think, was out again, didn't play. We got that great 2020 out of a sixth round pick in 2020. Beautiful, great. We got some clicks out of a guy that maybe will never do it again, but let's get some Russ Yeast. Let's find out what Quentin Lake has as he's been activated and is not activated, but he's eligible to come back. I think we're done with the Taylor Rapp story, and obviously the team doesn't believe in Terrell Burgess. And Nick Scott has not had a great year. I think he's graded out of over 100 safeties in the league. I think he's graded at 53. So just letting you know. And then finally at number 10, the thing that we have to remember, in spite of all the 49er fans at the game, the season is not over, okay? The season's not over. The first thing, number 10A, is you have to recognize for the true Ram fan out there is that most Ram fans are worthless. I've known this since I was a kid. Ram fans are not dependable. Ram fans are like the Israelites in the wilderness, right? God gives them water and they complain about having no food. He gives them food, they complain about no water. He frees them from bondage and slavery in Egypt. They get across the Red Sea and they're complaining that there's not enough graves in Egypt. There was enough graves in Egypt that Moses brought them into the wilderness to die. They see a miracle and they complain. This is the Ram fan, right? The Ram fan loves the team during the Super Bowl, but when everything goes wrong, they hate them all. Do not write off the season. Don't be like that. You've got a nuanced team. You've got a smart team that's had a lot of stuff work against it. There are some questionable things, I get, but the season is not over, okay? All right. The Rams made big deals last year, but OBJ, if you got a good memory, didn't really start to catch his stride until about December when he became a much more viable part of the offense. I think of the game in Baltimore where he made the big catch on 4th down before making the game-winning catch. So he didn't really catch on until December. And Von Miller, folks, we won the division. I mean, yeah, did we win the division? I think we won the division. Yeah. Guys, we did all that without Von Miller. Von Miller didn't catch fire until January. All right. Von Miller didn't catch fire until January. So there's time, and there's time to see things play out. And they didn't make a rash move. They didn't make a rash move for a running back. They didn't make a rash move for a pass rusher. I would have liked to see a rash move for a guard, but you know what? Who wants to give up an offensive lineman in this day and age? Those guys don't come cheap, and teams want to hold on to them, right? Now, the good news is, again, the Rams are 3-4. The 49ers are 4-4. You're half game out, okay? The 49ers have a tendency to get all juiced up like they're playing for their lives, like they're playing the Russians when they play the Rams, right? It's the Super Bowl every time they play the Rams. If you remember Dodger-Giant rivalry through most of the 70s and through the 90s, the Giants were awful. The Giants 90% of the time were awful. Their whole season revolved around, can they ruin the party for the Dodgers, right? Can they make stuff difficult for the Dodgers? You know, there's a reason they called them battery chucks, right? Because all they cared about was throwing batteries at the Dodgers and beating them when the Dodgers had something on the line, but the Giants did not. And this is the 49ers. They get all juiced up against the Rams, but then end up collapsing against a team like Atlanta. Not a bad team, but they end up folding against teams they should crush. So keep that in mind. Also, the schedule is brutal. They're currently underwater. They're 3-4. But the thing to keep in mind, and you hope the team keeps in mind, and you know the team has this in mind because they've spent a truckload of money here. Stafford, Ramsey, Kupp, Donald aren't getting any younger, and they won't be any better in 2023. So my guess is they are going to scheme as well as they can this thing. And because we know they're going to keep scheming, they're going to figure this out, even though they didn't make a deal. We know they're going to get it. We know that they're going to push because they know their window is open. They're going to be smart about it. And here's the good news, right? The Rams didn't make a deal. So as of right now, going into the next draft, they have picks in the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, and then they got all their picks in 2024. It's unbelievable. The Rams actually have some significant cachet on draft day. So this season was going to be a bear anyway because of the schedule. It's hard to repeat. And come on, 6 of the 8 offensive linemen you've counted on have missed either the entire season or significant injury. Come on. There's stuff. You didn't have Van Jefferson. You had a disaster with your running back with Cam Akers. You got issues here, right? And some players have not developed the way you thought they'd develop. But time's on their side. 10 games are left. Don't bail on the Rams. I think when it gets real, I think you're going to see them bounce back. And you know what's going to happen when they bounce back? Everyone's going to come back and say, oh, I've always been a Ram fan. All right, I'm Joe Terosian, and this has been RamView. You can follow me here. Hit like, subscribe, hit like twice if you don't like it. And you can subscribe to this, hit share as we build our imprint. I am a pastor of a small church in Burbank, and I'm a writer. My books are on Amazon. I've written a couple of football books. You can check those out, and we'll go from there. But I appreciate your support, your encouragement. God bless, take care, and we will see you soon on RamView.